Hi, I'm Nadia Freeman for Rockstone Sessions, and I'm here with Chris Ayer. How are you doing, Chris?
Good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Whoop whoop. It's really nice to have you here. You're doing a bit of touring around the Netherlands at the moment, and you've been really well received. You had a sellout concert yesterday in Amsterdam, and now here you are at Songbird Festival. How does it feel?
It feels really good. It feels sort of surreal. It's the first time I've done like a headlining Netherlands tour. So these two shows have been great, and we have another four shows, and today I'm going to play the Songbird Festival. And so there's a lot going on this week. I don't know what I'm going to do next week. I think that's going to be hard. I go home and be like, well, that was my year. I don't know. It's going to be weird, but right now it's really good. So.
And I mean, like I said, you've been really well received here in Holland. We love our singer-songwriters. Are you already planning to come back? I mean, you have a big audience here now.
That I would love to come back, and I hope that when this tour's over that there's like talk of another, because I think if it was up to me, I would come back every 6 weeks to Europe and just spend 6 weeks traveling and then do it again, kind of.
Well, you're invited. You're welcome to stay with all of us. um, you're a bit of a touring veteran. You've toured in the States and you've toured over Europe. How do you feel that different audiences compare? What's your favorite?
Honestly, it probably sounds like pandering in the Netherlands, but it's been the best for me here, especially in the last 6 months or so. It's great when you have a large group of people listening, but also like I opened for Matt Simons in the spring, and so a lot of people hadn't heard me before, but the shows, people were really active listeners, super receptive to my set also, and listened to the music since then. So like, as an opener for somebody, you don't always get that. So it's been cool that people were really, I don't know, paying attention, you know what I mean? So it's since then it's been like that experience at shows, people being very active listeners, I guess, which is a lot to ask, especially when you're playing a song that someone's never heard before. So yeah.
But now you're being appreciated or you're being appreciated in your own right.
It feels like it sometimes. I hope so. Yeah, no, it's been cool.
I'm British, so when you said that Dutch audiences, you also meant Dutch and British, right?
Yeah, it was like a Dutch-British hybrid, sort of, like if you look at Europe and then you just make a circle.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. You've been described as part street poet and part philosopher, and I know that you studied philosophy and music, and I just wondered whether you feel that philosophy somehow influences the way you write music or how it trickles down into it.
Yeah, it definitely does, and sometimes it's been a problem that it does, because you can get, well, yeah, I think with songs, some of the best lyrics are very simple, but they have meaning that you don't have to like pick apart for days, but I sometimes will get a little too wordy and a little too heady about stuff, and that's been, so yes, but also, it's a big part of why I like to write songs, so it still is my favorite songs I've written are definitely kind of interlaced with some of that stuff.
That stuff. I really love, you talk about, I think it's snakeskin heart, is that right? I really love that imagery, the kind of frail things falling apart. Where did that come from? Was that just a flash of inspiration?
Yeah, it's, thank you. And it was a song where I had an image which is kind of gross, but it's like, literally a snake skin peeling off. And the reason I thought of it was because human beings also, our skin peels off, which is gross. But if, we like are sloughing off, and so I was like, I can't say that in a song. That's disgusting. No one's gonna listen to that song about people exfoliating. So I didn't write that song. I wrote one. I just thought, that kind of idea that something means a lot to you and then it just flakes away is sort of heartbreaking when it happens to you from someone else.
Although I think exfoliation should perhaps be a theme for your next album.
I think it's really important. I mean, just as a health regime. That's an uplifting message, though, whereas the song is very depressing. So.
For your next health campaign. You've won or been nominated for quite a few songwriting prizes, for example, the John Lennon Song Prize. And I wondered when you won that, and then later, I think it was the Chris Austin Prize. Yeah. How did that affect your career? How did things change after that?
They were both pretty cool, because at least I submit to a lot of that stuff, and you didn't really usually hear back. And there were a few things where, the John Lennon thing, they were great, and they got me a lot of exposure that I didn't have like the day before. Mostly it's sort of been a steady build. Some ups, some downs, but like those were both moments. The Chris Austin thing was I got to play at Merle Fest, which is a festival in North Carolina, and it's really cool. So they were both big helps, and getting people to sort of point to your music instead of you just shouting, in the world and on the internet, or to have someone else sort of like lift it up a little is always very. I don't know, it's an honor, and it definitely helps a lot. So.
Well deserved as far as we're concerned. Now your album The Noise came out in March. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's a record. It's the first record that I produced myself. The last two, I had a great collaboration with people in Nashville that I'd met, and so I would go there and work on records, and it turned out great in a lot of ways, but it always felt like as much as I could be honest in a week where you have studio musicians surrounding you. So for this record, I spent more like a year and a half building it, you know, and going to the studio to track drums and bass in a big room, and then I did a lot of the recording. I built a kind of a home studio, and you know, carefully, like didn't want to just make that indulgent home studio record with like 800 instruments on it, but it was a lot more time to kind of like build up some of the sounds and make choices. So it felt like I got to be a little more specific with each song. So I'm really excited about it. It's been good reception so far.
So no compromises, straight from the heart, straight from the soul.
Yeah, the only compromises are when you kind of go, I need to stop doing this right now. Like I need to stop messing with this song. But I think that's I don't really know where to draw that line sometimes. But I think that I feel really honest about it, at least, you know.
Good. Well, very exciting. What's coming up next for you?
I'm going to finish this Netherlands tour, and then I am going to go home, and I'm going to celebrate the holidays and do absolutely nothing for like 2 weeks, and then it's next year. I don't really know what next year is going to be.
Oh, well, that's exciting. Leave it open. One last question. This is a songwriter festival, essentially. Do you have any tips for budding songwriters out there, budding musicians?
Man, from my experience, I think the times that I felt were really well spent were the times that I was practicing and playing, you know, playing out and actively listening to other music that I was inspired by that sort of like, you know, is almost like fuels you, and that to me is the work, the studying and the work. And the stuff that felt kind of like a waste was internet, like, you know, and it was, you know, the MySpace, Facebook kind of whirlwinds. I think just playing the instrument and working really hard before you worry too much about what everyone else thinks is, at least for me, that would be advice. Some people probably know that. I don't know.
I think that was top advice. Anyway, Chris, thank you so much. It was really nice to meet you, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Awesome.
So.
Thank you.
Thank you.